Jack, thank you very much for your wonderful class yesterday. The students really enjoyed working with you, and it was quite intense for some of them, but a really interesting class and so many wonderful messages for everyone. Thank you very much. I think everyone will be aware that you are a student of the Purcell School. Would you like to just tell us about when you were there and any thoughts of your experiences, memories?
Yeah, well, yeah, it was back in the dark ages, it seems now, but no, it's I joined the school when I was 9 in 1989, back when the school was in Harrow on the Hill, in two very old rambling houses, mansions on Harrow on the Hill. I'd only actually been playing the violin for less than a year when I joined this. At that stage, when I joined the school, I auditioned for Purcell when I'd only been playing for 6 months. But my teacher, Matej Marinkovic, who was a violin teacher in the school, sort of saw the fast progress I was making and suggested that it would be suited to me, and very much changed my life. Coming to the school, because I'd never really liked school very much before then, and I think finding the music really gave me a direction suddenly. And also, I mean, we had these going from sort of like horrible North London state school to this beautiful surroundings with, I think there was only about 10 of us in the class at the same time. So it was really one-on-one lessons with the teachers and stuff. So it was a big difference.
You mentioned Matej Marinkovic, your teacher. Can you tell us perhaps a little bit about how his teaching inspired you, and also any other musicians you worked with at that time and since who have inspired you and you feel that have helped to form the person you are and the player that you are?
Yeah, well, I mean, Matej, I was so lucky to have found a great teacher from the very first lesson. So I actually studied with Matej from the age 8 when I had my first lesson through till 23 when I graduated the Royal Academy, and I didn't have any other primary teacher. He was just the only teacher. So we were, and I think he was 27 or 28 when I started with him, years old. So we kind of grew up together, even though at different stages in our lives. And he was, we had an incredible relationship. I was very lucky. And I mean, he was very strict, very, really trying. His thing with me when I was a kid was he wanted me to understand what I was doing. He didn't want to play and for me to copy anything. He wanted for me to understand and be able to put something that he was trying to say to me in my own words. That was always the thing he said. He always wanted it to be in my own words. And I think that was, it was a brilliant education. I mean, he was a real connoisseur in what makes a great violinist a great violinist. So, he really we would listen to the old greats, and we would soak in the quality of the Heifitzers and the Chryslers and the Milsteins and Hasids, all these great violinists, and try and understand what it is that they were doing. And we used to go to. I mean, the other thing that was a massively influential part of my young life was that when I was 8, so about a few weeks after I started playing the violin, Matej took me to a concert at the Royal Academy of Music. And it was Zaka Bron bringing his class to London in 1988 with Maxim Vengerov and Vadim Repin and then a few other whiz kids. And I had my eyes opened to the wonders of these players at 2 weeks after I started playing. And then I would go, whenever Vengerov was in London, I would be there sitting in row 2. And just, for me, that was an incredible education in because he played with such strength of character, and sometimes he would overdo it a little bit, and in the way his playing suffered more lately because of overdoing it. But what an incredible player. I don't think there's anyone for generations who's played with that much just character on every note. That was the thing. And I used to sit there in front row like, how on earth am I ever going to get to that? and yeah, and actually one of the great pleasures I had was that later on I sort of shared the stage with him a couple of times. We did a cruise together with the English Chamber Orchestra, and we were both playing a soloist. And also when he had his injury, his shoulder injury, I replaced him once in the Bath Festival, and he sort of introduced me as a violinist, my friend Jack Liebeck, blah, blah, blah. And for me, that was very special to have my absolute complete hero introduce me on stage. So, but I heard him playing the other day, a recording from I think the Proms back in 15 years ago, and I still think that the character, that's the word that he would put through on every note, is something that I'm really trying to get my class to look for. Is that there's no such thing as an empty note. They all have a purpose, and he just plays with such panache, verve, quality, yeah. So that was a very important part of my life, and I always aimed to try and find that quality, really, as a player. To try and find that power and that quality. Don't know if I've got it, but I'll try the best.
Strange times we're living in. I mean, partly one of the reasons we're so lucky to be able to be doing this now and chatting is because of the difficult circumstances where we're all kind of penned in at home. Any thoughts about how you're coping with that, how it's changing? Obviously, it's changed your life, but in changing your teaching, perhaps. And perhaps any messages or words of thoughts for our students watching this about how they might use their time, or any words of advice?
Yeah, it's a bizarre times. I think that, I've spoken to my class about, so I have about, how many do I have? About 15 students at the academy, and we've been sort of keeping lessons going online, and I've actually been impressed at how they've reacted. A lot of them, of course, they've had the odd week where things have slumped and they've got a bit off course, but on the whole, I think that this has really given everyone a big shock, and suddenly we're thinking, oh, maybe I better think and do this stuff for myself. What would happen in the lesson? Even though I'm still shouting at them through Zoom every week, but I think it's bumped up the autonomy a little bit, which is what I really like to see. So some positives come out of it. I mean, the other positive is, quite frankly, a lack of distractions. So if you're an academy student, I don't know if you're doing GCSEs and A-levels, you've probably got other distractions, but there are things that are not happening that would take them away from practice. It's like 6 hours of orchestra for 5 days in a row, things like that, and certain assessments and whatever that is, as part of the academy course. Now they suddenly actually have very clear time for practice. So I think that's not a totally negative thing. That's got some positives to it. So, but from my perspective, for me, the teaching keeps me going. I mean, I have a structure because of it. But yeah, if I wasn't teaching, I'd be massively in the doldrums, because I've had 6 months cancelled concerts straight away. So everything is gone till September, and would expect that it will probably go up until next year, if not halfway through next year, because I'm not sure how the social distancing thing is going to affect concerts. Although, they have said a few times, well, gatherings are under 100, and I was thinking, quite a lot of classical concerts are under 100. It's very strange times.
And what about I get very different views from people about their own motivation towards their practice and playing. Some people say, I'm getting so much more done, I feel really motivated. And a few people have said to me, I'm just finding it so hard to even look at the violin. Or how do you feel? It's just that people react differently, don't they?
I'm the latter. I need something to practice for. I can't, at some point in this period, I'm going to start thinking about the concerts I have next year in the diary. I've got to learn, got to get Strauss Concerto, Glazunov, and Britain going. So these are all concertos that I haven't played before in concert. So I need to bite the bullet and get on with practice. But with so many cancellations, I mean, I've always been someone with a lot of interests. So if I'm not playing, I'll do something else. And you know, I mean, I also, the thing is, with the big class of teaching at the academy, if I've got to go and play concerts, I have to be very efficient in my practice anyway. So I do get a lot done in relatively concise practice sessions. I mean, that is one of the most important assets to learn as a professional. Once you get out, is, you know, the day set 8-hour practicing days are gone as soon as you're out in the big wide world. It just doesn't, you know, exist. You've got to go to the supermarket and buy groceries. You've got to one day pick the kids up from school, or take the dog for a walk, or the garden is looking a mess, or I don't know what, you know, things get in the way of practice. So you have to be able to subsist on an hour here, an hour there, 15 minutes. I mean, sometimes it's just 15 minutes between lessons or something. So when you get down to the instrument, this is my number one tip. When you get to the instrument, you need to know what you're trying to achieve in that 15-minute section, rather than just starting and doing something and then thinking, oh, okay, I've done 4 hours, off I go. Because you need to think, what do I want in this? I need to get this section fluent. I need to work out the shape of this phrase so that the arrival into G major makes more sense in comparison to, you know, you need to think before you play. Always before you put the bow on the string, think. That's the most important thing.
I think with that message, we'll call it a day. I think it's probably the clearest and best message we can possibly offer. Structure your lives and think about what you're doing before you do it. Exactly. And get some clarity, small goals. It's the answer. Thank you so much, Jack, for your teaching yesterday and for chatting to me today. And it'd be great fun to share this with the students. So thanks all, and hopefully we'll see you soon in school.
Yeah, hope so. Yeah.
I'm going to hit the. Thank you so much.